Hello everyone, welcome to my Evil Within, Akumu difficulty, with no upgrade / keys walkthrough, and this is Chapter 1, an emergency call. So I had previously done a walkthrough of this game, and it was a no commentated version, because at the time I wasn't quite confident in my ability to commentate walkthroughs, but now that I've gotten to the point where I'm at when it comes to commentating walkthroughs, I now have the confidence necessary to do a commentated walkthrough of this game. And I have done the Evil Within on the Akumu difficulty with no upgrade / keys before in my live streams, but I think it's just better to showcase the game in walkthrough format, because I'll be able to showcase my updated strategies, and I will be able to voice my thoughts on this game at a much greater level, and I will be able to go on different tangents very easily, because there's just a lot to talk about with what's happened in the gaming community and with other things. And I know I have done a walkthrough of the Evil Within using only the pistol on Akumu difficulty, but I just don't think that walkthrough did this game any justice, and you just didn't see the game at its best. And plus, I'm also planning on doing the exact same restrictions for the Evil Within 2, since I haven't done a walkthrough of that game, and it would just feel kind of weird if I were to immediately go to the Evil Within 2 without doing a walkthrough of this game first. An actual commentated walkthrough, I mean. And I'm just so glad to be doing a commentated walkthrough of this game, because this is honestly one of the best games ever made, but sadly it just hasn't received that kind of acclamation from anyone. And this game definitely deserves that kind of acclamation, especially when I consider this game to be better than Resident Evil 4 to some degree, because I find there's just a lot of replayability associated with this game, and I just like the challenge of it. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games ever made, don't get me wrong on that. It has a lot of innovative mechanics, it has a lot of really cool enemy designs, it has some really satisfying weapons, but I just feel like there are parts of that game that don't feel as replayable as a lot of the chapters on this game. And when I say a lot of the chapters, I mean all of the chapters. I like every single chapter in this game, compared to Resident Evil 4, where there were certain chapters I just didn't like. Like, Chapter 3 of Resident Evil 4 was kind of boring, and then Chapter 4 of 4 with Salazar, it was absolutely miserable. But this game doesn't have any problems like that. And it's just so rare for me to feel this way about a game, where it just feels like such a joy to play that it just never gets old. I mean, it's not only the gameplay that makes the Evil Within so satisfying. I love the story, I love the characters, I love just everything about this game. I think the story on this game is one of the best stories ever told. I just like the psychological horror it takes. I like how it has a focus to it for a psychological horror-based game. And when you think of psychological horror, you obviously want to think of Silent Hill, but I just don't think Silent Hill is as good as this game, and it just feels kind of bad to some degree. Like, the enemy types on Silent Hill are always very simplistically designed, the guns just don't feel very satisfying, the characters are just so nonchalant about everything, and then the music just doesn't sound very good. And then the storytelling is just so hard to follow sometimes. And it's just so hard to follow because the dialogue is so vague, and the characters are just so nonchalant about everything, as I've already mentioned, and it just kind of takes you out of the story, and it just feels like such a disconnect. And then there's just all these different things happening, it's just like, what's happening again? But this game just doesn't have those kind of issues at all. And it's all thanks to Shinji Mikami. This game personifies Shinji Mikami greatly, and why he is an absolute connoisseur at video game making. He's just such a legend. The guy just knows how to make innovative games. The guy knows how to make such satisfying characters. The guy just knows how to make satisfying gameplay. The guy just knows how to make a good game. Not a good game, a great game. A phenomenal game. Shinji Mikami is honestly one of the best developers ever in gaming history. Without him, we would not have the Resident Evil series. And, of course, we would not have the Evil Within series. And we would not have the over-the-shoulder perspective. We would not have any of these other games that took influences from Resident Evil 4, such as, like, The Last of Us and Dead Space. And, of course, we wouldn't have games like Devil May Cry, because, of course, Devil May Cry was an early version of Resident Evil 4. And with these string of successes, I am so hopeful that Ghostwire Tokyo is going to be a phenomenal game when it comes out, because Shinji Mikami is going to be a part of that project since he works for Tango Gameworks. It's just, we haven't heard any kind of announcements from Ghostwire Tokyo aside from its first announcement trailer. Like, there hasn't been any new gameplay, there hasn't been any, like, developer updates or anything like that. But maybe that's good news. Maybe that means Ghostwire Tokyo is receiving quite an overhaul, much like The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, Naughty Dog is being very silent about The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm so hopeful with The Last of Us Part 2. So, we'll see how Ghostwire Tokyo is going to be in the future. And in case you're wondering, yes, I have seen a new gameplay for Resident Evil 3 Remake, and I should be commentating on that. But I just had to make this statement about this game, because I absolutely love this game. I'll talk about the gameplay I've seen in Resident Evil 3 Remake, and some of the confirmed features coming to that game in the later videos. But let's just return to this game right now. So, here is the sadist. He's gonna run off into the other room. You have to hide in this locker so that he eventually breaks down the door. And at this moment in time, we don't have the ability to run because the sadist has chopped our leg, and we don't have any weapons at our disposal. So we're gonna have to use stealth to our advantage, and this strategy works every single time. So what you do is you pick up that bottle, and you have to remain crouched at all times because he can actually see you behind the crates randomly if you're not crouched. And all we're gonna be doing here is waiting for him to move to the right, and then you need to stand up and throw that bottle in that direction so that it distracts him. And then this is our opportunity to move. And then we're going to hide behind this counter over here. And from the spot, I'm going to throw the bottle over there so that I can get the sadist to destroy the crates that are blocking my way. And then the moment he decides to destroy the crates, I'm going to throw the bottle back in that other room. And I'm just going to make a getaway. And the sadist will never catch me. And fun fact about this sadist encounter, it is actually possible to kill this sadist, but the method for doing so is so awkward, I don't think it's intentional whatsoever. Because what the method requires you to do is you have to first perform a sneak kill at a very specific spot in the environment, and then you've got to run back to the locker that you were previously in at just the right moment so that he loses you. And then from that point, you just gotta repeat the process, and eventually he'll die. It'll take roughly 15 minutes to do so, and it's 15 minutes that aren't even worth it. Because even on my pistol-only Akumu difficulty walkthrough, I did not need to use that trick whatsoever. There's zero benefit whatsoever to killing the sadist on Chapter 1. But I've gotten past him, and all we gotta do is just make a mad dash to the elevator. And I am really glad that they paid an homage to this sequence in the Evil Within 2. And we got to see Sebastian turn the tables on the sadist and really conquer his fear of STEM. And a lot of people just didn't really understand the whole significance of that sequence, and it really frustrates me. And it just goes to show that these people don't understand survival horror, and they're just like, oh, it's just a bunch of reused assets. And that it just didn't make any sense for Theodore to use monsters that Sebastian's already killed against him. But Sebastian never truly conquered this fear of STEM after the events of the Evil Within. If you haven't read the Evil Within interlude, you should read it, because it showcases how Sebastian is trying to adjust to life after his encounter with STEM. And you never truly conquer your fears of certain things if you don't go through the kind of experiences that Sebastian went through in the Evil Within 2. So I really don't understand what those people are talking about when they talk about that sequence. But that is the end of Chapter 1, so stay tuned for the future chapters. Welcome to my walkthrough. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.